Welcome back to the Football Expert for another college football prediction. Here today, we are looking at South Carolina, Shane Beamer and his squad. We're looking at to see what South Carolina football will look like in 2026. A team under Shane Beamer that has kind of gone back and forth. They've had some good years, they've had some bad years. So it will be very interesting to see what this team will look like at the end of the day. Because last year, very disappointing year. The year before that, they had a pretty good year. So it's something that it will be very interesting to see what happens. You've had a 7-6 season, an 8-5 season, then a 5-7 season, 9-4 season, 4-8 season. Seems like it's ready for a bounce back here. We'll see what ends up happening with that, but I think a bounce back is coming. You have a lot of opportunities here if you're South Carolina to have a bounce back and to really take advantage of that. But either way, make sure that if you're a South Carolina fan or any college football fan, hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoy it. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you think the South Carolina record will be, and then let's get into this video. So we look at South Carolina, we look at their 2026 schedule. They start off against a MAC school in Kent State, Golden Flashes. So that's going to be a very interesting game to see how this offense looks, how the defense plays. The offense, obviously, still led by Lenore Sellers at quarterback, Matt Fuller at running back. The right side of the offensive line is there. Nick Harbor had a great season last year, or at least a good season. We'll see whether he can have a great season. But they have transfers all across the offensive line on the right side from center to right guard to right tackle. And then you bring in Nitro Tuggle at wide receiver as well. So a lot of interesting pieces there. Then on the defensive side, led by none other than Dylan Stewart, who is extremely good, who is a great player. The problem is that the past couple of years, you really just have not been able to have a opposite to him. I should say last year. No, he's a true junior. So last year, there wasn't the same production on that defensive line because you didn't have a true opposite of him. But Caleb Herring, the transfer coming in, we'll see if he can play a role and play opposite of Dylan Stewart, really get away with some stuff there. But either way, first game of the season, home game against Kent State. No issues there. Should get a win. Easy peasy. Then you have a game against Townsend. I think you get a win there. I think Townsend is not a good football team. There's not much to say there. Then you have a home game against Mississippi State. That will be a very interesting game because it will be a big test for South Carolina to see whether they're going to be able to get the jump. If they get this jump, they get the win, they would tie their SEC wins from last year. So incredibly important to start the season off well, get a win there because the back half of this schedule is rough. You have teams like Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, all in about a 4-week span. So 4 out of 5 weeks with Arkansas thrown in there as well. So very tough back half of the schedule. So you got to get a win there. So I'm going to have them winning this game against Mississippi State. If it was on the road, I'd be a little more 50-50. But with it being at South Carolina, I think that the Gamecocks will get the win here. Then they head on the road for the first time this season against Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And Kalen DeBoer cannot lose a game like this. If we look at the past couple of seasons, South Carolina has played Alabama incredibly close. Last year, home game with the Crimson Tide, 29-22 loss. The year before that, I believe it was also at about a 7-point loss at Alabama. So I think that Kalen DeBoer and Bama do get the win here. But it could very well be a very interesting matchup. They could, if South Carolina is firing on all cylinders at this moment, I could see them getting a win. You just never know with this team. So I think that you could, but you have to have a lot of things go right. And I just don't know if I see all those things going right. So I'm going to have this as a loss. But Alabama, their quarterback situation isn't really nailed down quite yet, from my understanding of listening to stuff out of spring ball at Tuscaloosa. But I think that the fact that you get them early on in the season also does help out in this matchup. And Alabama has to replace a lot of production from last year, which is Alabama. It's Alabama. They probably will, but you never know. I'm just not sure if I fully trust Kalen DeBoer, but right now I'm going to give the edge to Alabama in this game. Then you have a home game against Kentucky, first year for the new Kentucky head coach. I believe it's Will Steichen, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, the former offensive coordinator at Oregon. I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong, just let me know in the comment section. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Kentucky, I think this will be an easy win here. I like Kenny Minchie, a guy that they brought in at quarterback. But outside of Kenny Minchie, this Kentucky team, it's a first year under new head coach Shane Beamer. It's a must-win game. I think they'll be able to get a win there. Then you have a road game against Florida, and this is where it's going to be a very interesting game because you have a road game against another first-year head coach back-to-back weeks, and John Summerall, the former Tulane head coach. But it is still the Swamp. It is still Florida, and it is still an incredibly difficult place to play. Even though it's a Florida team that they have all sorts of possible issues going on, I think that this Florida team is still good enough to be able to get the win at home against Shane Beamer. But this is a type of game that if you are playing well that season, they could get a win. We'll see what happens there. But you have Aaron Philo at quarterback. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but the former Georgia Tech quarterback. And I don't know what I think of him particularly. I have not seen him play almost at all. He only had 373 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception last year. So I'm just not really sure what to think of him, but they do have guys. They always have beast. It's Florida. You always have beast, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side. There's freaks of nature. But right now I lean towards Florida, but you could very well convince me as we get closer to the season that South Carolina wins this game. So we'll see what goes on there. Then you have a bye week, I believe, and then you have a road game. Yes, a bye week, then a road game, or I'm sorry, home game against Tennessee. Last time that Tennessee came to South Carolina, you had all the controversy later on saying that Michigan gave South Carolina signs for Tennessee and stuff like that. And there was all that controversy later on. But during the game, it was just a barn burner of a game. South Carolina, I believe, put up 60 with Spencer Rattler. And it was just a back and forth game until South Carolina just pulled ahead and they stayed there. So it was a really high scoring game. I think they hit over 100 points in that game. And I don't think that they're going to do that this time. I don't think that they're going to get over 100 points this time. But I do think that Josh Heupel is a good head coach. And I don't know where I see Tennessee at right now. Tennessee's in a very interesting spot with Heupel. I think last time I checked, you do not have their old quarterback that I cannot remember his name now off the top of my head, Joey Aguilar. He does not seem to be able to come back. I'm not 100% sure, but you do have the redshirt freshman George McIntyre at quarterback. So I think that they do have a lot of pieces. You also have Deshaun Bishop, the redshirt junior, coming back, along with a decent wide receiver core and even some good transfers at the offensive line. You have Sam Pendleton, the former Notre Dame player, who I think is a very good player and I think well worth the center position there. I think that Tennessee gets the win here. I think that their offense is just going to be a little too dynamic for South Carolina, but it is a home game for South Carolina. It is incredibly difficult to get road wins. So I could see a victory here for the Gamecocks, but I need to see a little bit from the Gamecocks during the season. I need to see how they play Mississippi State. I need to see how they play Alabama before I pick them to beat Tennessee. But maybe come this game, maybe they're 5-1 going into this game. Like maybe they beat Alabama or they beat Florida on the road and they're 5-1. Maybe then they do, but I'm just not sure here. So I have it as a loss. Then you have a road game against Oklahoma. And I think that this one is just simply a loss. I think that Brett Venables, despite most South Carolina fans don't want to say it, I think he does have their number. He's just a defensive wizard generally, and when it comes to South Carolina, particularly, has really shut them down a lot of the time. So that brings up the next team, which is a home game against Texas A&M, and I just like Texas A&M and Mike Elko as the head coach there a little bit too much. Marcel Reed coming back now, along with Reuben Owens in the backfield and Isaiah Horton to transfer. I just see too many good pieces here from Texas A&M to be able to pick South Carolina in that game. But then you do have a little bit of a break in the action with the next game against Arkansas on the road. I do think that you get a win here against Ryan Silverfield, the first-year head coach. I think you get a win there. And with that, it does build a little bit of momentum there for that team. So I think that you will have a little bit of a momentum booster for that scenario. Then you have a home game against Georgia. Georgia is Georgia. And as long as their roster is not riddled in the Athens Police Department, but like a lot of guys in Georgia, as long as there's not issues with that of players getting suspended or taken off the team, Georgia's just a better team, and I just don't see a reason why I wouldn't pick Georgia in this game. Gunnar Stockton, originally a South Carolina commit, came over and then went over to Georgia after Will Muschamp got fired. So doing wonders there at Georgia. And then finally, you have a road game against your arch rivals, in Clemson. And I think that this is a very interesting matchup because the road team has not won a game since I believe like 2018 or 2019 or something. I think it's 2019. Or I'm sorry, the home team. The road team's always won the last few years. And with that, I think that South Carolina does get that 6th win. But it's going to be pretty tough to justify keeping Shane Beamer another year of subpar football. I guess not subpar, average football. You're at 6-6, but you have a couple of games where it's just like, okay, that doesn't matter. So I think that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I haven't gone 6-6 as the final record, beating Clemson though. So I'm sure South Carolina fans will be happy about that. But if not, make sure that you hit one of the 2 videos down below. Either way, won't be a podcast of all of my videos for college football predictions. Click up there. Click the subscribe button up here as well. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.